Whose driver?
The same one I'd met before.
The same one as before? Dino? That's it? Okay.
He picked me up from home and took me to Rome, and then from Ciampino Airport, I went in a small plane, a private one.
A private airplane? Was it an aeronautical plane, perhaps?
I don't remember if there was any particular sign on that plane.
So when you get to Villa Certosa, the Premier's Sardinian home, who was there to welcome you?
A lady who worked for Berlusconi.
What was her name?
Licia.
Licia? Are you sure? Okay.
Yes. She's a really nice girl, really intelligent. She's a surgeon, actually.
Was it by any chance Licia Ronzulli? Are you sure?
Yes, that's it. I'd forgotten her surname.
Okay, so who was at the villa?
At the beginning, he was resting, in the afternoon when we arrived. Silvio was resting, so in the meantime we settled in and we chatted to Licia, and that's how I got to know her. She's a really intelligent woman, really bright, a great surgeon. She welcomed us in the meantime. There was only us then. Then, in the meantime, some other girls arrived and other guests.
Who, for example? Do you remember anyone that you might have seen on the television, maybe?
Yes, I saw Susanna on television.
Susanna?
I don't know her surname.
By any chance, Susanna Petrone?
Yes, she's from Naples. Yes, I saw her a while ago on television and I recognized her. She's a good girl. And she was there as a guest at the party in Sardinia.
So what happened in the villa?
Nothing much. You know, we celebrated, we dined, we celebrated, we played. Everything you need to have a nice time.
And did you meet Berlusconi?
Yes, yes.
And how did you address Berlusconi?
Silvio.
So you all called him Silvio?
No, the other girls. There were lots of them in Sardinia. They were more familiar with him. It seemed that they'd known him all their lives. They called him Papi.
They all called him Papi? Daddy?
Yes, they were like little girls, and he was very Papi. But I just met him, so I didn't know him so well as them. To call him Berlusconi would have been too formal, and since we'd called each other by our first names before during our conversations, I called him Silvio.
Did you see any girls that were underage?
No, they were all pretty girls, about my age. Some were slightly older, some slightly younger perhaps, but I can't really tell you their exact age.
And did you manage to talk to Berlusconi, to chat to him?
Yes, I got to know him well. And I got to know a fine person, very helpful, humble. He listens to you, he talks to you.
Did he say anything to you in particular?
No, we spoke about my life and about his life, about his grandchildren, kids, about work, about the family.
You're a mother?
Yes, I'm a mum.
Did he ask you anything about your little girl?
Yes, he asked about my little girl, how she was, what my job was, if I was married or not. And I told him I'm not married and that I work and all that. I must have seemed nice to him because he stayed talking to me all evening as if he wanted to get to know me better.
Did he pay you in any way?
No, I wasn't paid exactly. We'd been talking since the afternoon. He told me about his life, his family, his stories, and me about mine. And on that day, I was rather nervous, and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, you know, problems." "And what are your problems? Like you can't pay the bills, for example?" "And how's that? What work do you do?" "Well, I do this and that. I do more than one job because I can't manage on one salary." And he said, "Listen, I'm sorry that your problems are like that. At least they're not about your health. If it's only money problems, don't worry. Stay calm. I'll give you a present, and so that way you'll be all right for a while." So he did give me money, but it wasn't a wage, because I'd already been paid for my image presents by Tarantini. I had gone to give my image presents at the party. So if we hadn't chatted like that, he wouldn't have found out about my problems, and there wouldn't have been that present afterwards.
Did you have any kind of relationship with the Premier?
No, just a relationship that we met.
Only of that kind?
I didn't have sexual relations with him. He never even touched me. And the most obscene thing that he did was when he said, "Don't worry, for a while you'll be all right," I kissed him. And I said, "They've thrown God on my path." And he gave me a kiss on the forehead.
As far as you know, did Berlusconi give presents to any of the girls Tarantini brought?
I don't know if he gave presents to the other girls, but Tarantini said that after the girl who stays to go to bed with him, an escort girl, then obviously she would be paid.
Did you get invited back?
Yes, I was invited again, but after he'd been so generous with me, it seemed like we'd become friends. He hadn't proposed anything indecent to me, hadn't promised me a part in any TV fiction or anything. It was just a chat. He saw I was in a difficult situation and he told me he'd help me. He knew that I only worked with my image. I couldn't do anything else. So he called me back, even knowing that I wasn't an escort girl. He got in touch with me through Tarantini. He called me for another party.
Do you remember when?
I don't recall very well, but it was round about the time that his sister died. So we were supposed to have the party in Sardinia, and I'd accepted to go, but then it was called off because the family was in mourning.
However, if you had gone, even though he'd been so generous to you, you still would have wanted to be paid for your presence.
Yes, paid by Tarantini. Yes, an attendance fee for my image, because it's my work.
And so, to conclude, did you know that Patrizia was going to reveal her story?
Yes, and since we were friends, she confided in me and she said, "Okay, since I'm an escort girl, I offered a sexual service. He didn't pay me that time, but he made me a promise instead. And if he doesn't keep his promise, I know what to do," she said.
Have you ever been approached about running for elections for the centre-right party?
Yes, actually, I was a candidate for the local elections of a party, a right-wing party called Puglia Above All. But Berlusconi has got nothing to do with it. You're obviously thinking, well, I just pick up the phone for a bit of help.
During these parties, did you ever see anyone using drugs? Cocaine in particular?
Absolutely not. I didn't see anyone using coke. Maybe it happened before or after, but during the party I didn't see anyone sniffing coke.
You never heard anyone talking about coke?
No, not at all.